With the Kindle Scribe, the Remarkable 2 got its most prominent contender. And while both 10-inch ink devices seem similar on the surface, there are fundamental differences which can make either one a good or bad choice, depending on your personal needs. Let's check out who should and shouldn't buy the Kindle Scribe and Remarkable 2 in this in-depth comparison. And before explaining why, let's get straight to the answer. The Kindle Scribe is for anyone who mainly wants to read and sees handwritten notes as a useful addition but doesn't rely on that feature. The Remarkable 2 is for you if you want to mainly write notes and maybe want to read a book once in a while. So if you were simply looking for that answer, please leave a thumbs up and see you in the next video. Everyone else, let's check out the specifics of each device and see why I made these statements, because as always, the devil lies in the details. In terms of haptics and build quality, the Kindle Scribe is the best e-reader I have ever used, which after having tested over 100 devices over the years is something I don't say lightly. But the aluminum frame with its smooth curves and rounded edges is done so nicely that even the higher weight of 430 grams doesn't really bother me. But then again, the Remarkable 2 isn't bad either. Quite the opposite in fact. It also has a flush display and an asymmetrical design. It's optically a bit subtler because it's two-toned and the grip area on the side is a little smaller. The Kindle Scribe is easier to hold in the hand because of the larger grip, but the power button and USB-C connector placement can be a bit annoying. Depending on how you're holding the device, you might feel both of them in your hand. On the other hand, the Remarkable 2 also has a large chin at the bottom of the screen, which is useful when holding it in landscape mode. And the company did a better job with the button and USB-C connector placement at the top and bottom of the grip. Both devices have 4 rubber feet on the back, which help with on-desk stability. Which brings us to the cases, the book folio for the Remarkable 2 and the flip cover for the Kindle Scribe. The fabric feels almost the same and the devices are held in place magnetically in both cases. But that's where the similarities end. As the book-related name suggests, the Remarkable 2's case opens to the side, which is more in line with a regular notebook. And thanks to that design, the smaller grip area gets a little larger when the cover is opened, which makes the Remarkable 2 easier to hold with the case. It might be nitpicking, but the 4-colored material mix that this setup produces doesn't look very nice in my opinion. You have the two-toned Remarkable and additionally a magnetic strip and finally the front cover of the case. And because you are also running your hands over the folded part, it seems to wear down a bit faster, which could lead to it looking even messier in the long run. Another thing I don't like about the Remarkable 2's cover is the missing sleep function. Opening and closing the cover doesn't control the standby mode of the device, which I haven't seen in other devices for quite some time now. And while I prefer the book-like experience of the Remarkable 2's case, the Kindle Scribes is so much more practical in everyday use. The most obvious difference is how it opens. Instead of opening it to the side, it flips to the top. Thanks to that design, it also has a built-in stand, with which you can stand up the Kindle Scribe with 2 different angles. The lower position is perfect for writing, and the more upright stand is perfect for reading. And of course, you can lie it down flat as well. And the included loop where you can put the pen in means you can transport the Kindle Scribe much more securely. And I know it didn't sound like it, and even considering all the Scribe's covers advantages, I still favor the Remarkable's book-like approach. It just feels more natural handling it. And also because the Kindle Scribe's case is protruding on the sides just enough that it makes holding the Scribe with the case a little more uncomfortable. Same as with the covers, the pens feel similar at first, but feel very different when using them. I'm comparing both premium versions here. The Remarkable 2 stylus is textured, which I found unusual at first, but it quickly grew on me. Together with the noticeably higher weight of 19 grams, it lies better in the hand than the pen of the Kindle Scribe. The Scribe's pen feels nice as well, but not as nice. The lighter weight of 15 grams is good on its own, but feels a bit cheaper in direct comparison. Both pens have an eraser function on top, and the Kindle Scribe stylus also has an additional shortcut button. Oh, and both pens are passive, so you don't need to charge or pair them. You can simply start writing, and even swapping them with one another works perfectly fine on both devices, because they're using the same inductive technology. When it comes to displays, the differences become much more noticeable. They're both using ink technology, which means both are perfectly readable in direct sunlight. But the Kindle Scribe also has a built-in frontlight, which means you can use it in not so ideal lighting conditions without any problems. In fact, the Scribe is perfectly readable in every lighting situation thanks to it. The Remarkable 2, on the other hand, relies 100% on outside light sources. And even though ink screens mimic regular paper, in reality they still have shortcomings when it comes to reflectance. Ink screens typically only reflect around 50% of incoming light, which means under similar lighting conditions it's always darker than regular paper, which reflects 70 to 80% of incoming light. In other words, the Remarkable 2 can quickly become hard to use if the room isn't sufficiently well lit. And there's also the screen resolution. The Kindle Scribe's 10.2-inch display is the first one in that size segment that has over 300 ppi. 304 ppi to be precise. The Remarkable 2's 10.3-inch display only has a resolution of 226 ppi. That's still plenty, but in direct comparison you can see the text and lines are sharper on the Scribe, and the higher resolution also allows for ever so slightly more precise handling of the pen. At one thing, however, the Remarkable can triumph. Thanks to a missing frontlight with its plastic layer, the ink screen is sitting noticeably closer to the front glass than on the Kindle Scribe. That makes writing feel a tiny bit more natural, but to be honest doesn't compensate for the missing frontlight in my opinion. Writing on the Remarkable 2 and the Kindle Scribe feels incredibly similar. Both have textured display surfaces, which makes using the pens almost feel like you're using a pencil on paper. Almost. There is friction and a light scratching sound, which makes writing feel great on both. They are also very similar in terms of latency. With around 20 milliseconds on both, you can only notice the pen's latency when actively looking for it. But it isn't an issue in everyday use. Even though the Remarkable 2 doesn't have an inbuilt frontlight, it's now time for it to shine when talking about note-taking functions. Just to be clear, I'm using the 3.0 firmware, which is currently in beta, to make this comparison more future-proof. Make sure to subscribe to not miss my full Remarkable 2 review with the new firmware. So let's quickly follow up on the writing feel, because the Remarkable 2 has an exceptional implementation of pressure sensitivity, which in turn can take your note-taking and specifically sketching to another level when compared to the Kindle Scribe. What does that mean? The Remarkable 2 has 8 different pen types which behave and look differently. By applying more pressure or tilting the pen, you can change how a line is drawn, very similar to regular writing tools. There are 3 stroke thickness options for each style and 5 color options. You can also type text with the virtual QWERTY keyboard directly on the page and mix it with your handwritten notes for better organizing everything, and also scroll notebook pages down and sideways to make the canvas bigger, which is neat when you're running out of space on a page and don't want to make a new one. Using the eraser on top of the pen feels very different than on the Kindle Scribe because it's rubberized. It almost feels like a regular eraser, which is very much in line with the Remarkable 2 mimicking real paper note-taking as much as possible. There are 47 templates available including the blank page, so you will most likely find everything you can possibly need as a page background. Another great feature is the layering system inside notebooks. You can create multiple layers that stack on top of each other, which can be hidden separately and help in sorting contents on a page even more. And with the tagging system, you can organize your notebooks overall. With the lasso tool, you can also move annotations on a page, and of course you can turn the display orientation to landscape as well. All of these functions are also available inside PDF files. In addition, you have the option to insert blank notebook pages inside of PDF files as well. Zooming and navigating PDF files isn't the fastest or smoothest experience, but it works well enough for the Remarkable still being a useful PDF viewing and note-taking device nonetheless. The only downside is missing viewing modes. But then again, the Kindle Scribe is also lacking in that area. So let's talk a little bit about that, which I can keep a bit shorter because the Amazon e-reader doesn't offer as many options. You can create notebooks and organize them in folders as well, but there is no tagging system. There is also no layering system, only 2 different pen styles, much reduced pressure levels, no lasso tool, and no landscape mode in PDF files. Don't get me wrong, the Kindle Scribe's note-taking capabilities are still solid, and note-taking is a lot of fun. But when trying to use it in a more professional setting, you will quickly notice that some important features are missing. What's nice on the Kindle are the more stroke thickness options, 5 for both, the pen and highlighter, and the shortcut button on the stylus, which makes note-taking more efficient. Navigating PDF files feels a bit smoother on the Kindle Scribe, but is a bit snappier on the Remarkable 2, which I prefer in this case. And the system-wide dark mode is a nice option to have. But that brings us to another important point, which is USB functionality, or better lack thereof. Because on the Scribe, for being able to use the note-taking functions in PDF files, you need to send them through the Send to Kindle function. Just copying them to the e-reader via USB-C won't give you handwriting functions. The PDF needs to be processed by the Amazon systems first, which I personally don't like. But the Remarkable 2 isn't so great either, because they didn't implement a regular USB mass storage mode and instead rely on a local web service. Meaning you have to open a local IP address in your web browser to copy files to the Remarkable 2. I get that this has advantages as well, but for me it's just unnecessarily complicated and incredibly slow for just copying files. And looks like it's designed to push the cloud service, which I will come to in a second. Let's quickly talk about the reading functions first, which is very clearly the Kindle Scribe's territory. For all the details, please check my Kindle Scribe review, but suffice to say the Scribe nails it when it comes to reading books. From purchasing titles in the built-in store, changing text styling, looking up words in a dictionary or Wikipedia, or highlighting text. All these basic functions have evolved over many years to a point where there isn't much to complain about. Not so on the Remarkable 2, which makes it very clear that it's a note-taking device first. There's no built-in store. It only supports the M3 EPUB ebooks, and options in general are pretty limited, with missing dictionaries or text highlighting options. Changing text stylings is also noticeably slower than on the Kindle, but luckily you usually don't do that too often. And as I already mentioned, the missing frontlight makes reading ebooks inconvenient at times. One thing the Remarkable 2 offers, which is missing on the Kindle Scribe, are handwritten annotations directly on the page. Same as in notebooks and in PDFs, you can simply write something on the page. When you change text styling for the first time, there is a notice reminding you that annotations might be misaligned afterwards, because the text flow changes. Amazon is handling this issue by simply not allowing annotations directly on the page at all. Instead, the Scribe relies on sticky notes, which are pinned to a fixed position and open in a pop-up window. One thing to mention is the possibility to install KO Reader on the Remarkable 2, which is a third-party ebook app that offers much more options than the original app, but doesn't feature handwritten note-taking, isn't supported by the 3.0 beta firmware at the moment, and is more of a hack for advanced users than an easy fix for everybody. The Kindle Scribe also offers a few additional functions besides reading ebooks and note-taking. The biggest one is audible audiobook support, which works via Bluetooth and compatible headphones or speakers. Other features include a vocabulary builder, Wordwise, accessibility features, and the not-so-great web browser. Same as with the reading functions, you can learn more about those features in the full Kindle Scribe review. The Remarkable 2 also has a few useful additional features, but in a very different direction. There's an option to convert your handwritten notes to typed text, which isn't always perfect, but works surprisingly well most of the time, even with my terrible handwriting. There are also integration options for Google, Dropbox, and OneDrive to sync files to those cloud services. Which brings us to the service part of things. Both devices are clearly set up to be used with the company's cloud services in the background. The Kindle Scribe is straight up not usable without logging into an account at first boot up, but can be used in airplane mode afterwards if you don't want to sync your files to the cloud. But then again, you can't use other internet-based functions as well, like the built-in store, and getting a hold of your notes to view them on the PC isn't possible either when not using the emailing function. The great thing about the Kindle Scribe's cloud integration is its price, because it's free of charge and included in your Amazon account. Which isn't the case with the Remarkable 2. When they first revealed the $5 and $8 subscriptions, there was a lot of backlash, especially because the company limited functionality when not having a subscription. They changed the model in September 2022, lowered the price to just $3 a month, and made previously locked features like the handwriting conversion and other cloud service integrations available for everybody. With purchasing a Remarkable 2, you get 1 year of the Connect subscription for free. When not being subscribed, your notes get stored in the cloud for only 50 days after last opening them. If you don't want to use cloud services at all, the Remarkable 2 is the better option of the two because it allows you to download your notebooks as PDF files in the previously mentioned local web interface. Let's talk about pricing and options. Both devices have a similar starting price, with the Kindle Scribe being the cheaper option overall, because for $340 you get the e-reader with the standard pen. The Remarkable 2 starts at $299, but doesn't include a pen. That's only a useful option if you already own a Wacom stylus and don't need the rather expensive $80 or $130 options Remarkable is offering. So with the cheaper pen option, you have to pay $380 for the Remarkable 2. Those are the cheapest options available for both devices. If you want a better stylus and a case, the price gap gets even bigger. Then the Remarkable 2 costs $600, the Kindle Scribe with the larger 64 gigs internal storage costs $500. And that brings us to the conclusion of this comparison. As you can see, the Remarkable clearly has the upper hand when it comes to note-taking functionality. There are many useful features and the company has extended them over the years. Using the Kindle Scribe makes it very clear that Amazon is just entering the note-taking market. The functions work perfectly fine, but the feature set for handwritten note-taking is much more limited. On the other hand, the Scribe is simply the better device when it comes to ebooks and readability. Thanks to the built-in frontlight, it's much more convenient to use. Even in a well-lit room, using the frontlight is a useful option. So the bottom line is this: get a Kindle Scribe if you mainly want to read and don't intend to use the note-taking functions too heavily. Choose the Remarkable 2 if you want to mainly take notes, but not if you want to read ebooks. If you're looking for the best all-in-one device, watch my full review of the Onyx Boox Note Air 2 Plus. It's up to the channel to not miss future reviews and comparisons. Please also consider leaving a thumbs up if you found this video useful, and make sure to also check out the full Kindle Scribe review if you haven't done so already. Thanks for your time watching, and see you in the next one.